And before I go, I've got a little story to tell you about Butch, too. This is Mezick story night. The other night, I don't remember where I was, but I had on my nice new green jacket. Please welcome my good friend, Butch Mezick.
Folks, I switched mics. Can you hear this one? Yeah. Because I can't possibly tell if I'm speaking well or not up here. First and foremost, thank you, Mr. President. Secondly, I am pleased, proud, and honored to be here. Thank you. We're going to speak about guns, conservation, and leadership. Now, there's a possibility that I could forget that, so I got some notes. They go on both sides. Problem is, I can't see them. What I'm going to ask you to do, if I should get forgetful, you could just help me out. But you got to memorize it, right? So, would you say after me, guns?
Guns.
Conservation?
Conservation.
Leadership?
Leadership.
Define?
Define.
Interdependent.
Interdependent.
I'm done. My personal relationship with guns. I like guns. I've never lived in a home without guns. I never intend to. I spent 4 years in the United States Marine Corps, rifleman. I started shooting sporting clays in April. I stopped in September. I started hunting in September. I stopped in January. I haven't missed a year going out west with my bird dogs, German short-haired pointers, since 1984. I have visited Iowa, Kansas, Nebraska, South Dakota, North Dakota, Montana, Wisconsin, and loved every moment of it. Touring the United States and seeing our wonderful country through the nose of a bird dog is very much my passion. I'm a range officer at the rifle and pistol range. I'm also a range officer at the shotgun range. I like guns. What about guns in the eyes of Walton Lake? I suggest they offer an opportunity, and I suggest they offer one of our largest challenges. How could it be a challenge? The Bethesda Chevy Chase chapter I belong to, Montgomery County, Maryland, 1,137 members. They have legal, safe, highly functional trap, skeet, sporting clays, rifle range, pistol range. What's the problem? Membership's up, rangers are doing well. What could be the problem? At our chapter, we ask folks to join our chapter. When they join our chapter, stand up for 3 different meetings and just tell us who you are and why you've come. And we get everything from, oh geez, I'm here to identify wildflowers, and I want to, I want to get closer to wildlife, and I want to hunt, and I want to fish. But inevitably, we get, I've come to shoot. I've come to shoot. I've come for the ranges. I couldn't find a range, and then I found out you folks had a range. I want to get my children shooting. I want to get back to shooting. Get the picture here? Mm-hmm. What can happen is we can lose the balance of this organization between guns and conservation. If guns become the dominant function of the Izaak Walton League of America, we're in trouble. On the other hand, we have all these members coming in. All we have to do is create a conservation corporate type environment, and we're going to soar. So there's our challenge. What would happen if it went this way? What would happen if it was all guns? No conservation, just all guns. What would happen? First and foremost, I suggest we would lose our 501c3 tax classification. You got to pay income tax, you're going to run your chapter with less money. I don't know about you, but good luck. Secondly, and I suggest more importantly, the people that don't like you and me because we have firearms in our life are going to have a much easier time opposing you. You see, when we become guns only, and the people that don't like us, and they oppose us, Why? Because firearms are in our life. What they can do is what they call dice and slice. In philosophy, they call it a dichotomy. Just cut you away and put you over here. They're the gun people. They're the extremists. They're the radicals. They don't even know you. But they're against you because you have firearms in your life. Just as an example, this last spring, from Maryland to Connecticut, all of the states in a row along the East Coast, they all proposed legislation to put an additional tax on ammunition. In Maryland, it was 50%. They don't know your family. They don't know how well you integrate into your churches and your schools. They don't know anything about you, but they're going to oppose you because you have guns, particularly when the Walton League becomes the last range open, when it becomes the last place you can shoot. In Montgomery County, Maryland, I believe there's three. One of them just recently lost its opportunity to shoot. They closed it down themselves because of shotfall, because of development encroaching on their property. It's inevitable. We're on a collision course with energies and with people we've never met. So how do we protect ourselves? If it's easy for them to attack an isolated, guns-only organization, then I suggest it's very difficult to attack an organization that has a vibrant, healthy conservation program, that becomes the conservation center of the community, that becomes a center of conservation excellence, a center where your families and your children are part of the neighborhood. You're not going to be those people. We're all going to be the same. Let's take guns and set them off the side, and let's define what it means to be a conservationist. I guess we better start with what's conservation mean? The wise use and management of our natural resources, the wise use, management, and protection of our natural resources. Little caveat with the protection. The Walton League, as I understand it, is not hardcore protectionist. We don't want to isolate our woods and our wetlands and our fossil fuels. We want to use them, but we want to use them harmoniously. We want to use them in such a way that we exist and they exist. It's very dangerous to isolate people from the natural resources, because when they go to vote, it'll be nothing but apathy. What is a conservationist? What is a conservationist in respect to the Walton League? That's not the easiest question to answer. If you go to Webster's, you know what they say a conservationist is? Someone that practices conservation. What about us? Well, I suggest it's a frame of mind. I suggest we become what we think about. Example, say we're riding down a road, and there could have been a period in your life, particularly when you were younger, where you didn't even notice maybe the lunch debris on the side of the roads or the beverage bottles, or you went to a stream, and God knows what you'll see floating down a stream. I mean, there's been tires and refrigerators and ranges, and my God, and there was a time in your life you may not have noticed that. And then, there was a time you noticed. Maybe you went out and picked some of this trash up and put it in the bag and hauled it off. There was a time when that was unacceptable. There was a time when, wow, this has got to stop, we got to do something. I suggest right there, you're becoming a conservationist. You see, because you're becoming aware of your natural resources. Right there, you're beginning. But let's dig a little deeper. The Walton League has this wonderful pledge. It is a beautiful sentence separated by 3 semicolons. The first part of it is to strive for the purity of water, the clarity of air, and the wise stewardship, But I want to dig down on the second part. To know the beauty and understanding of nature, the value of wildlife, woodlands, and open space. If you had to stand up at this moment, could you tell me what it means to know the beauty and understanding of nature? Do you have a definition you can just roll right back? We say it all the time, but what does it mean to know the beauty and understanding of nature? Let's do an example. Let's do an example of someone that would be the worst case of knowing the beauty and understanding, And then we'll do an example of someone that has reached some level of harmony and excellence. They are close to nature. They know. They are the epitome of knowing the beauty and understanding of nature, the value of wildlife, woodlands, and open space. Let's contrast the two. Contrast the two. And in our example, let's say they're taking a walk through the woods. They're going to start at point A. They're going to end at point B. Worst case first. This person has no idea whatsoever what it means to know the beauty and understanding of nature. How do they walk? Well, I would suggest their senses are dull. Their sense of hearing, their sense of smell, their sense of touch, all their senses are dull. They're not noticing anything except with their sense of sight. They go, this is where I should put my foot so I don't fall down, so I can proceed to the destination B. That's what they do. They walk from point A to point B. They get there, they took a walk in the woods. How about this other person? What would it be like to walk with this person that's reached this level of excellence? Well, we don't really know, but let's just take a best guess. Of course, they're going to use their vision so they don't fall. They want to get to destination B as well. But they're going to see everything. And they're going to understand, and this is the best part, they're going to understand to their level. You see, you don't have to be a chemist. You don't have to be a biologist to know the beauty and understanding of nature. You just have to get a little closer to it. Here's the way it may work. It might work. You're in the woods, so I guess they're surrounded by trees, by definition. So they know that not only is that an oak tree, but that's a white oak tree. And possibly that white oak tree is going to drop thousands of acorns. But that particular acorn is nutritious and it's delicious if you're a deer or a turkey. As a matter of fact, if you try to find or pick up acorns 3 days after they drop, say the wind blows hard and a lot of them drop, you can't find them because the animals consume them immediately. That's the way they're prepared for winter. They also would know, because back, here we have oak hickory forest. A lot of people go, well, that's an oak and that's a hickory. But this example, this person would know, that is a shagbark hickory. That's a pignut hickory. That's a bitternut hickory. And they also would know that food it's dropping, it's a hard mass crop. Squirrels and chipmunks mainly. The other animals that eat it, believe it or not, a turkey can eat some of these hard mass crop. But they prefer not to. See, because this person is in touch. This person knows. And as they're walking along, they're going to see possibly the leaves all like scratched up and disturbed. And they would know that turkeys did that. A flock of turkeys came through here, and they're looking for acorns. They're looking for grubs. But someplace else, the leaves are all disturbed, but you see clear dirt. It's just dirt, and everything's back. That is a buck's scrape. That's where that buck has these, telling all the other bucks, this is my area, and he sprayed that with his scent glands. That's his territory. And then there's going to be some trees, and these trees will have to, like the bark, rub right off of them. That's where the buck was rubbing the velvet off its antlers. But they're small trees, and I suggest that the buck pushes the antler, and the tree bends over, then it pushes back, and that's how they get that velvet off. But later on, they got bigger trees, and they've been scruffed up, but then they don't move at all. What's he doing there? He's banging his head into it, because now he's under the influence of his mating hormones, and he's practicing for combat. He gets back, looks at a tree, boom. That's the way these guys do it. But let's go back to this excellent example of this individual that knows the beauty and understanding of nature. They're walking along, and their sense of hearing, they might hear that rap, rap, rap. That's a pileated woodpecker, or a pileated woodpecker. It's the same bird. And what he's doing, he's banging a hole into a dead tree. By the way, that dead tree is called a snag. And inside of that tree, it's hollow. And he's making a house for his bride. They're going to raise their children in there. And all types of other woodpeckers are going to come and use that hole. He's very important to his woodpecker friends. This folks walks along, and here's some water. Oh my God, just a little stream. But this person knows that fresh water is one of the most precious resources on this planet. They know that all the water we got is all the water we're ever going to get. Not one bit of water more is coming. It's in a cycle, and they know about that cycle. They also know that the next world war may be fought over fresh water, not oil. What about these other processes? You know, they're surrounded by herbaceous plants. And this miracle on the planet called photosynthesis, the absorption of carbon and the release of oxygen. It's everywhere. And look at these plants. Some of them are real small and some of them are huge. They're living, they're coming, and they're dying. And when they die, they came from the soil and they're going back to the soil. And oh my God, what about the soil? Because this person is in tune with that. What do the farmers say? We're 6 inches on average away from starvation. Because you get below that topsoil, you're not growing anything. You're not growing anything. Another news flash. Most of the earth, water. What land's not water, a small portion of it actually is farmable. Look at this person. They're just walking along, and this is what's going through their mind. This is what's going through their mind. What does it mean for a chapter to be a conservation chapter? What does it mean for a chapter? If we define what it means to be a conservationist, how does a chapter become a conservationist? A chapter that has a conservation mentality, has a conservation program. You know, General Electric Company and Xerox and Google, if you go to work for them, they have a corporate policy. So should our chapters. When I come to the Walton League, I'm walking into an environment where we hold our conservation and our natural resources in high esteem. We're concerned about the purity of water and the clarity of air. That's all we have to do, just bring them into to that environment. How does a chapter do that? It brings in awareness constantly. And make it fun. Speakers and projects and examples of projects that we're going to get into a little finer. But you get the picture? If you went to the Baptist church, you think they got some attitudes about Jesus? If you come to the eyes of Walton, we should have some attitudes about our natural resources. You're walking into that environment. That's what we do. Let's take conservation and set it off to the side. Let's define leadership. Everyone knows what leadership is. Until you try to explain it to someone. Leadership is, hang on a second. Can I hold a pound of it in my hand? Can I pour a gallon of it into a milk jug? No. Sometimes we best know leadership by its absence. You know, you hear people say, who's running this place? Everything is confusing. I don't understand. Who's the boss here? What's going on? You see, we have chaos and disorder. So maybe that's a way for us to look at leadership, by restoring order. It seems as though the natural order of things is disorder. And what I mean by that, if you don't tidy up your house, it doesn't get cleaner. It doesn't get neater. If you should be drinking a cup of coffee and inadvertently drop your coffee cup on the cement floor, it goes in little pieces. It goes everywhere. It does not spontaneously turn into a coffee pot or a teapot. You know, you don't make a saucer when you drop it, you make a chaos, because that's the natural order of things. So a leader, what does a leader do? Of all the possible things that could happen, a leader guides you. Of all the things that could happen, this is what is going to happen, because I have a plan and I have a step-by-step process, and at the end of that I will produce a product, I will accomplish a mission. Things will happen that I intend to happen. I thought of them on this side of the plan, and I accomplished them on that side of the plan. That would be leadership. Who are the leaders in a chapter? How do you get people to follow you? How do you get people to follow you twice? You know, there's different kinds of leadership. Leadership in the military, getting people to follow you, not too hard. They don't follow you, they punish them. They put them in jail if they don't follow you. How about leadership at work? If I'm a director and I control your work schedule, I control your compensation, I guarantee you, you will say hello to that person in the morning and laugh at their jokes. What about if I'm a leader in a non-profit organization like the Walton League? Everybody is there because they want to be, but nobody has to be there at all. How do I provide that kind of leadership? How do I do that? Well, leaders, I don't believe, can be taught. I think leadership is somewhat of a natural gift. On the other hand, someone that has that gift can certainly be mentored so they don't make all the mistakes that all the other leaders went before them. Right? So, what would that leader be doing? Let's say that leader had a project. What would be that leader's responsibility? Well, first and foremost, do your planning before the people show up. And when they show up, put them to work. Right away, put them to work. And when you get them out there, for God's sakes, work them harder than they expected to work and get them dirty. Oh yeah, get them tired, get them dirty, and get them a project so they can turn around at the end of the day and go, nobody got paid today, but I'm proud of what I did. I'm proud of what I did. And if all possible, have some lunch. You know, have a little bit of food and some cold drinks at the end. You'll see the new members and the older members coming together. And here's the biggest surprise. I don't know why this works, but I can tell you with complete confidence it works. Teach them something. Teach them something easy. Everybody loves to learn. Nobody wants to be confused. But teach them something easy. Particularly the kids. Here would be an example. Say you were working with trees. And at some point, you could say, hey, let me tell you about the way leaves and twigs grow on some branches. You see, sometimes the leaves are opposite one another. Like here's the branch, like center of me, and here's a branch, and there's a branch, and it's opposite. See, and sometimes it goes like this. That's called alternate. You know, that would be alternate. But back east, if the leaves are opposite, it's a maple, ash, or dogwood. You can take the branches, here's opposite, here's all, hand it to the kids. When they go home, you'll see the kids with them in their hand, talking to their moms and dad, right? And you can bet the next day at breakfast or at dinner, they're talking about opposite, maple, ash, and dogwood. They're talking about, somebody's going to be on the internet these days, you know, going to the next step, right? The point is, we're kind of define leadership here, and we're talking about its organization, it's a reduction of chaos, it's boots on the ground, and it has some common similarity, no matter what we're doing. And for God's sakes, it's motivation. And you know what you need to be? You need to be there. You can't lead from the truck and everybody else doing work. You got to be right there with them. And guess who else has to be with you? Your leaders of your chapter, your board of governors, right? Because people follow the leaders. When they see them there, they're going to be as well. Okay, let's make a connection between guns and conservation. Let's make that connection. What I'm about to say, I suspect most of the people in this room know. But if you don't know this, or if you do know this, listen acutely, because we need to spread the word to all the people in our chapter and all the people in our neighborhoods. Every shooter is a conservationist, is an aid to conservation. Pittman Robertson funds. Pittman and Robinson were senators in Nevada and Virginia. 1937, they proposed legislation to put an 11% tax on long guns and ammunition. Since 1937, that legislation signed by Franklin Delano Roosevelt
to 2013 produced $7.15 billion.
And here's the best part. The money does not go to the U.S. Treasurer. It goes to the Department of Interior, and it has specific instructions. It can only go out to aid wildlife. They call it the Federal Aid and Restoration Act. Habitat leasing, wildlife research. Who pays the biologists? Who pays the technicians to perform all the work? The money comes from the Pittman Robertson funds. And by the way, in order for a state to get funded, they have to provide the first 25%. 25% of that project has to be paid by them. Pittman Robertson's 75%. So that
$7.15 billion
has now become
$8.9 billion.
Where'd that money come from? Well,
In the 1970s,
they amended it. They included handguns, handgun ammunition, handgun accessories, and archery equipment. It became a 10% tax and 11% tax respectively. So every time we buy this and every time we shoot, we're taking care of the animals. We're taking care of the habitat. Let's have a celebration, right? I mean, you need to let every shooter in your chapter know, I want to thank you, you know, and particularly the people that are against shooting and they want to shut these ranges down. What kind of a contribution are they making? Because they're not going to replace that money. Now, when they modified the Pittman Robinson Fund,
in the 1970s,
they also included hunter safety courses. That's how hunter safety courses get paid. And we're connecting guns and conservation, hunters, and hunter safety courses. The Izaak Walton League is excellent. The Izaak Walton League is the source of most of our hunter safety programs. We can be so proud of that. Hunters. There's no segment of society that puts more time, talent, and money back into wildlife than hunters. Ducks Unlimited, Quail Unlimited, Rough Grouse Society, Pheasants Forever, it just goes on. These are just concerned citizens that love their sport, and they get together and they raise money and put it back in. When the Izaak Walton League supports hunters, and we do, then we're making a major contribution to conservation. Now, here's what hunters really, really need. They need a place to learn to shoot. They need a place to learn accuracy. They need a place to learn safe gun handling procedures. Otherwise, they're not an ethical hunter. And we're all about fair chase and ethical hunting. This happens at the Izaak Walton League. So look at this beautiful connection between guns and conservation. Through our firearm shooting and our firearm purchasing and our support of young hunters, the next generation of conservationists, rock solid. Folks, be aware of it and share it. And if you run into someone that really, really doesn't approve of shooting and hunting, please ask them to buy a hunting license. You know, if you care about the rabbits and the squirrels, my God, buy a hunting license, because I'll tell you how it's going to work. It's going to go right back into supporting them. Let's make a connection between conservation and leadership and guns. Let's make this connection. Leadership and conservation. Let's drill down a little bit. How did I become that leader? What are some examples? I mean, everybody can, we can make plans and we can do things, but let's talk about some things that have worked. The Pleasant Chevy Chase chapter, we just finished a book. And this book is intended for new members. You get one chance to make a first impression. When these folks walk out of this chapter, and I must say we've completed the book, it isn't quite to the printing yet, but we got to fund the book, but we're working on that. And it's going to happen soon. This book talks about our culture, it talks about our history, it talks about the facilities and the activities, but it also lists the common trees with the pictures and the most distinguishing part. It lists the wildflowers. It has a section on wildlife. It has a section on birds. It has a section on managed species. It has a section on predators. It has a section on habitat and our woods and our forests and our streams. When our new members walk out of here after their third meeting, they pay their entry fee. When they walk out of here, they walk out of here with a beautiful book. And we made it really pretty. We made it with a beautiful cover, because when they go home, that's their first step to being a conservationist. They set it on the table, and their family sees this book. And when you open it up, it has color pictures in it. It's 200 pages long, and it has lots of captions. That's a way an Izaak Walton League chapter can become a conservationist chapter-wide. That's one example. We have a 623-acre farm. We have 488 acres of woodlands. We manage it with chairpersons. The farm chairperson, among other things, by the way, when I say chairperson, don't think of one person, think of a committee. What he does is makes food plots. And one of the food plots he makes is for doves. On September 1st, we have a dove shoot. A lot of our members come to the Izaak Walton League to shoot. They're target shooters. Well, a target shooter transitioning to a dove shooter is one small step. It's very easy for them to make that transition. And when they do, they buy what? A hunting license. You get the picture? That's what the chapter did for them, provided that opportunity. The wildlife chairman. This chapter has developed a program called Wildlife Counts. And it is recording all the wildlife on the chapter. How do you do it? Well, you do it by hanging game cameras, and they 24/7 will take pictures. But more importantly, it comes from the members going around with their cameras taking pictures of everything. I mean, they're taking pictures of damselflies and dragonflies. They're taking pictures of snakes and turtles and frogs. I mean, we say wildlife, we mean the whole picture. Gorgeous pictures of birds. They submit them to the webmaster. The webmaster puts them on the website. Wildlife Counts. The forestry chairman, working with the other chairpersons. We looked at the farm, and some of the fields were 3 acres and 5 acres. Folks, back east, you cannot put soybeans in a 3 acre or 5 acre field. When they come up in the spring, the deer will eat not some of them, but all of them. They'll eat every darn one of them. You just can't do that. So a better use, we'll put it back in the forest. So we reforested it. From 2010 to 2013, we planted 4,000 trees. Who do you think planted those trees? Our members did. They did it with their families. And we still have to maintain these trees. We still have to do roundup around them. We have to bush hog them. We have to replace the ones that die. I got to tell you, there's something magic about a mom, a dad, and a child all on their hands and knees putting a sapling in the ground. I can't quite explain it, but I can tell you it brings that family closer. And I'll tell you what else happens. That becomes their tree. They're going, how is my tree? How much water are we getting? How's the weather treating my tree? But I know I put it right over there, and it's mine. They take ownership. We didn't get 20 or 30 people to do this from 2010 to 2013. We had hundreds and hundreds of people planning and maintaining, and they're really proud of it. By the way, we talked about the farm chairman and the wildlife chairman and the forestry chairman. A lot of times we have meetings, and you know where they take place? Usually on Tuesday nights after we all three shoot sporting clays. And we have a barbecue, and then there's a spontaneous discussion. Folks, there is no difference between a conservationist, a hunter, a target shooter, a fisherman. We are all the same people, and that's where our strength comes from. That's how we're going to be resilient to fend off whatever's in the future. Now all we have to do is define who the leaders are. I'm going to ask you just to look to your left and to your right. Please, just look around this room. Bend your neck, give it a good trip. Right? You and I are the leaders of the IWLA. And we also know the other leaders in our chapter. There's no getting around this. I don't have to look any further. If you're here tonight, you are a leader or not. If you didn't think you were a leader when you walked in, walk out of here thinking you're a leader, because you are. Now, if you'll indulge me just for a moment, take your right hand, please, and put it over.
Your microphone.
Put it over your heart. And let's just have a moment of silence. Hopefully, you felt a heartbeat.
Can we do it again?
You're only going to get so many of those. I'm only going to get so many of those. And then we're done. Our chance to leave is over forever. You're only going to get so many heartbeats, and that's it. So what we need to do, you and I, we're the leaders. We need to make those words from this conservation plan jump off, that strategic plan, jump off the paper and do something. Do something means do something. Let's stand up. Let's stand up for what we believe in. Let's stand up for our value system, our lifestyle. Let's not be afraid to fail. Let's turn the IWLA into the finest conservation organization in the world. And by God, our ranges and our firearms are a healthy, vibrant component of our conservation mandate. Thank you very much.